Hello, welcome to the CommerceCast. My name is Todd Baltz, and we have here with me Mark Holt.
Mark Holt. Hi, everybody.
On today's episode, we have a former Chamber of Commerce board director, also former board president, and also a current bank president of First Horizon Bank, Mike Thompson.
Good friend of the podcast, good friend of both Todd and I, Mike Thompson. Kind of a modern day Renaissance man with all he's got his hands in. Really enjoyed the conversation that Todd had with Mike, and just a brief summary of what you talked about, everything from duck hunting to the community growth and what he sees in banking. He's really got his hands in a lot of stuff.
He does. He stays very busy. He needs some more vacations, according to his wife, but he likes staying busy. He likes being involved in the community, and it's really impressive and hopefully inspiring for those of us my age and younger to see that, Randolph County and Pocahontas is a good place to be and live.
Absolutely. Hope you enjoy this conversation with Mike Thompson of First Horizon Bank and his many other interests. Looking forward to our next one.
Remember to send us an email at commercecastpod@gmail.com if you have any ideas for a future guest or a question for a previous guest. Enjoy today's episode. Well, hello. Welcome to the CommerceCast. I'm here with Mike Thompson of First Horizon Bank. Glad to see you, Mike.
Thank you. Glad for you to have me on. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes. This is for those of you who are aware podcasts can be recorded in the past, in the future, in the present, and sometimes there are audio issues. So this is Mike and I's second attempt at recording a conversation that we had. Mike and I go back a little bit of ways. I affectionately call him Uncle Mike based off Tory Welch. Used to be Tory Jungersfeld, but Tory Welch now. I've got to have that really clear. Uncle Mike is a character, but he has a great amount of history and community service, and CommerceCast wants to highlight that, especially as First Horizon is a member of the Chamber.
Yes, certainly so.
So, Mike, many people in Pocahontas at this point should know that you're the president of First Horizon Bank and a dedicated community leader. But from what I have heard from very reputable sources is that there's an earlier chapter to your story. And can you walk us through your journey from a high school hooligan era into a respected community leader and, dare I say, almost town elder?
Well, you must have been talking to my mother to call me a hooligan. I think that she would definitely characterize some of my high school years as such, for sure. But yeah, I, of course, grew up here in Pocahontas. I went to Pocahontas High School. As soon as I left there, I went to school at ASU and, just kind of journeyed through my business career really quickly. When I got out of college, I started work for Walmart, was with those guys all over the country, and started having kids of my own. And, I wanted my children to grow up around their grandparents like I was able to do. And so I decided to try to move back to Northeast Arkansas. And then I spent almost 8 years away from Northeast Arkansas in my travels, and then have moved back and been here ever since.
Well, that's awesome. It really feels like Pocahontas. You could never really escape the Five Rivers area.
You cannot. I had an opportunity to live in quite a few other places during my travels, and there's no place like home. And once you've got out of this bubble, you find out that living in Pocahontas is a pretty good deal.
Pretty good. So it's a pretty good bubble.
Yes,
it may be a bubble, but it's a pretty good bubble. Growing up, was there a mentor or even a turning point that kind of shifted you from just having fun, being carefree, into working at Walmart and then becoming part of the finance community?
Yeah, my first, what I would call my first business mentor was Jerry Hensley. He was the manager at the Walmart store here for a number of years, and he was the guy that hired me, and then I got to work for him, and then along the way, as I progressed up my corporate ladder, got to work as a peer with him, and so he was a guy that really taught me how to be a business person, how to be a retail leader.
Again, one last question about your younger self. Do you think your younger self would recognize you today?
Possibly. When I was growing up in high school, One of my best buddies was Ben Bigger. He was Mayor Frank Bigger's son. And Ben and I always talked about the fact that at some point we'd go off to college and we'd come back to Pocahontas and we would be leaders in the community just like our fathers were. It happened for me, but it did not happen for Ben. He hasn't moved back, you know. But yeah, it was something that I kind of envisioned because I saw my dad do that for a number of years. And so I always thought that was a possibility.
So it sounds like community service and serving, the service part has always been in your blood.
It has, yes.
That's awesome. Now, I know that you don't just participate in activities here in Pocahontas around the county. You also are an active community member in a small township called Knobel. How has that kind of shaped your perspective?
Well, so my involvement in Knobel comes from I'm a member of a duck club that's the house is in our cabin is in Knobel, and so I've been traveling up there for duck hunting and hanging out, doing outdoor activities around there, and so Knobel's a great little community. It's 137 people. Everybody kind of knows everybody. Everybody watches out for everybody. And it's just a great place for us to kind of go and unplug. And it's only 40 minutes away from Pocahontas, but it feels like you're a lot further away than that because there's not a lot of the creature comforts up there.
And plus, I'm sure as time has gone on, the cell phone service has gotten better. But when you first were going to hang out there, it may have really felt like I am off the grid.
Yes.
I'm isolated. I am definitely alone and can enjoy nature.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you kind of just unplug from everything out there because, like you said, the cell phones are almost non-existent, so you can almost just lay it down and go do other things.
Now, besides, serving in the community of Knobel, you have served quite a bit here in Pocahontas and for Randolph County at large. I know that you have served on the chamber board as a board member. You served recently as a board president for a year. You have served on the Pocahontas Airport Commission. You also have turned a passion project of the Redskin Broadcasting Network into a very, very busy hobby. Yeah. And then you have also partnered with Imagine Arkansas. So you dedicate a significant amount of time to volunteerism, community service, and you mentioned that you grew up kind of seeing yourself doing that. Was just you seeing your dad and Frank Bigger being town leaders? Is that the driving force behind your commitment, or is there something else within you that you want to provide for Pocahontas?
Well, part of it was when I took the job at the bank, I knew that part and parcel with that was being involved in different aspects of the community, right? Just being the face of the bank in the community. And I didn't realize how much that would occur, right? Because I started off with the chamber. Tim Scott had asked if I would be interested in serving on the board, and so kind of got started with that. And then I got involved with the BRTC Foundation, and I've been involved with the museum board, and then I've been involved with Imagine Arkansas. You mentioned that's a new project. But yeah, I felt like I spent more time at my side jobs than I did my bank job in some days.
I can imagine. And I mean, hopefully that means you have a lot of good sub leaders helping you out of the bank, keeping the bank running smoothly. Since one of those intangible job requirements as a bank president is to be out in the public. Yeah,
the First Horizon Bank staff, I just can't say enough great things about them. Just great folks there. We have some really long-term associates there. Juanita Johnson, who now serves on the chamber board, has been promoted to banking center manager there.
Okay.
Just a great bunch of folks, and they allowed me the time to go out and about in the community because I knew that they had everything handled at the bank.
And I also know that your Pocahontas First Horizon Bank allowed you the time for your bigger bosses to send you up the road to assist their projects. So you really were being forced to not even be in your own office very much.
Yeah, that's exactly right. About 3 years ago, I took over management of the Jonesboro main branch. I've spent some time because of folks leaving. Last year at one point I was running 3 banking centers because we had a manager had left, and then we had a manager with some health issues, and so got to stay really busy for most of last year.
And that's probably why you're like, I need a break of something at
Yeah,
this point.
that's exactly right. Yes.
I mean, coffee does help. I do think your very lovely wife, Robin, would love to go to Hawaii for a week or two.
She would.
So just putting that plug in there
Yeah.
for Aunt Robin. That you heard it here. Uncle Mike needs a vacation. You have served on the chamber. You've led as president for one. What is your biggest takeaway or kind of thought about the state of business in Randolph County?
I think it's, we've seen good growth in the past few years. We've seen new business opportunities around the square here in downtown. We've seen new businesses pop up in the Maynard area. I think the trajectory is good. But if I look back on my time as especially as the board president, I think the most noteworthy thing from my time on the board is we hired Ann Savage as our executive director. Has been I'd like to take credit for it, but it's actually Julie Courtney that mentioned that Ann might be a great fit as an executive director, and it's turned out to be just a home run hire. Her excitement, her energy level she brings to the job, her passion to promote businesses in Randolph County has been fantastic. And, Ann is tied into the community in so many ways.
Yes.
And I just think that of all the things that occurred while I was on the board and while I was president, the hiring of Ann was the most notable achievement.
Well, you probably are aware, especially if you decide to look through the minutes of your time on the BRTC Foundation board. She worked at Black River for so long, helping it kind of get to where it was now.
Yes.
So it makes total sense that she has the experience, but also the plugged-inness to know who to talk to, how to encourage them, and then also ask them, hey, what can I do with the chamber to help you grow and succeed?
100%.
You have seen from your personal standpoint how business, how government in Pocahontas, Randolph County, how the philanthropic networks can work together. But what do you think could be done to help increase the collaboration between business and government and the philanthropic communities of Randolph County?
I think we're on another good upward trajectory as far as everybody rowing in the same direction, right? Because, we run the risk of being siloed. This nonprofit does that, and the college does this, and the school system and the city government does that. So, again, use Ann as an example. She knows the key players in all of those things, right? And so, when I was on the chamber board, one of the things I talked about was that aside from the city government, the Randolph County Chamber is one of the oldest institutions in Pocahontas, in Randolph County. And so I always wanted to look at us to kind of be the adult at the table sometimes, right? To make sure that when at all possible, everybody is pulling in the same direction.
So with that being said, the collaboration is on an upward trajectory. Would you say that's been the biggest risk or economic headwind facing Randolph County? Is that lack of collaboration in the past 10 years? Or do you think there's another risk that maybe people have kind of taken their eye off of that might be preventing Randolph County from being strong going forward?
Growing up in a retail background, I always looked at who my competitors were and what they were doing, right? And in Northeast Arkansas, I see our competitors as cities like Manila or Paragould or these other, even Jonesboro. We compete with them for people to live in our city, right? We compete with them for businesses to locate to our city. And so I feel that if we're not all pulling in the same direction, we're going to see all the new businesses and all the new houses go up in Manila instead of in Pocahontas.
Yeah.
So,
and especially with an eventual new highway addition that could even be exacerbated if we do not have a strong collaborative effort being made by all those three: business, government, and philanthropic networks working together.
Exactly so. And I think that the highway project could be a big game changer for us. But I want to make sure that we are positioning ourselves to take full advantage of that.
And make it a positive game changer, not a negative one.
Yes, exactly so. Yes.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned last time that part of the attractiveness of Pocahontas, Randolph County, was it was a good and healthy bubble. But we also, in order to get some of those businesses, need to have a little bit of growth. And I know that we talked about that magic 10,000 number. Mayor Futrell brought up earlier as well. Is that still the same magic number for us to have a good plateau level to grow and be a good environment to attract people here?
That would certainly help, right? Whether that growth occurs organically, which, if we want our population to grow, we need more housing for those folks, right? If we want our community to grow, we need good infrastructures. For example, the changes that have been made to the Pocahontas water.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great step in the right direction, right? But there's so many things that are involved in that growth. We have to have good school systems.
Yes.
We have to have, we talked about the infrastructure. We have to have the housing. We have to have things for people to do.
Yes.
And we have to have places for them to shop and places for them to eat. It's going to take all of those things happening in a positive manner for us to get to where I think we would like to be.
Let's go to some exciting things, some passion projects of yours.
Yep.
We mentioned earlier that you have this nice little small passion project called Redskin Broadcasting Network that I would not say has got out of hand, but it's definitely exploded, I think, a little bit faster than possibly what you anticipated.
Yep.
Part of that has been over the past 10 years, we've had an increase in rural broadband access.
Yep.
So we've had across the board higher speeds. So when we go not just Pocahontas, but also to Osceola and some other smaller communities where we play against them in sports. But all we have is a bare cell service. Now we have 3 bars instead of just 1 bar.
Yeah.
But that means we can stream. And that's something you've been doing the past couple of years. You've been streaming and then commentating on the football games.
Yep.
And so just talk a little bit about the broadcasting, the Redskin Broadcasting Network, because it was something that you kind of spearheaded on your own with some friends. But besides just liking football, this was a lot of time and money. Was there anything besides liking football that made you want to do this?
Well, I started broadcasting games for the Redskins. It's probably over 10 years ago now. Tim Scott and Doug Thielemeyer were broadcasting games on KPOC, and they wanted to start videoing games and then showing them on tape delay afterwards. And Tim had asked me to help with that effort because of the technology involved. He wasn't real comfortable with that, and so I think I can figure that out and help you. So I was just in charge of the tech aspect of the video for a while. Came to a point where Tim Scott was running for mayor. And he was very careful about the fact that if you're in a political race, you're supposed to give equal time to your opponents, right? And so Tim decided that time when he was running for mayor that he would step down from the broadcast.
Okay.
And so he asked me and Brock Thielemeyer, Doug's son, to come on to help broadcast the games. And so I'd never done anything like that before. But I'm like, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. And turned out I really loved it. I really had a great time doing that. Did that for a few years. Reached a point where my son was playing football and I wanted to be able to watch him play football. And so I kind of stepped away from the broadcast thing. And then when Casey Chester was named head coach, Casey asked Brock and myself to come back and start doing games again. So that's kind of how we got into that. That was, I guess, 3 years ago now. So the team started off with me and Brock Thielemeyer, and Aaron Baltz came on to help us. And Derek Phelps was doing camera work for us. That has now morphed into last season. We have 6 guys on our team, and the technology, the thing we were running into problems with, if we were broadcasting at Pocahontas, we were using the Wi-Fi in the press box. Worked great, but when we went on the road, you don't have that all the time, right? Last year we added a satellite, Starlink satellite uplink, and then we added a wireless router just to make sure our signal was great. And so we just kept on upping the technology just to make sure that when we were on the road, everybody back home could watch the Redskins
play. Hear that,
play.
folks? We have cutting-edge technology here for our Redskin games.
We do have some cutting-edge technology. You know, we've added new camera systems. We've added a sideline camera system. We've added, wireless microphone systems, and it just keeps on going and going. I think the next season, maybe our next step up is going to be some AI controlled cameras as well, so that we can get more shots and show
and
the game.
relieve some of the pressure on y'all's camera operators, because sometimes you might have all 6, sometimes you might just have 4.
That's exactly right. And we were really proud this year. The Little Rock Touchdown Club has what they call a Sully Award, which is named for Steve Sullivan. He's a long-term Little Rock sports broadcaster.
Okay.
And so the Little Rock Touchdown Club presents the Sully Award to high school announcers in Arkansas. And so we submitted a clip of one of our touchdown calls from this past year, and we actually made it into the top 8 for the Sully Award. So we didn't win, but we were excited to be included, excited to make the finals.
The top
finalists.
8 is not bad.
Exactly. So we just have a great time with it. We're at the point now where none of us have kids playing, and so we can watch the game, and the Redskins. Every one of them is our kid, right?
Of course.
We hope for their success. We want to see them grow on the field. We want to see them grow as young men and young women, and that's just very gratifying to be a part of that.
Now, I know this year I think y'all added doing some junior high football games.
Yeah, we actually broadcast every junior high football game this year as well. So that was a lot of fun. I don't know many schools that are doing full slate of junior high broadcasts, and we tell people we may not be the best senior high broadcast team, but we may be the best junior high broadcast team. So yeah.
And then the other thing I think y'all added this year, or maybe I had it the year before, but I know y'all added it this year. Y'all have added the ability for corporate sponsorships to occur.
Yeah, we added some sponsorships just to help pay for our equipment. In the first few years that we did this, we didn't get paid anything. Yeah. So we were on our own hook for gas. It was for the love of the game. We were on our own hook for gas traveling. We were on our hook for meals while we were on the road. And so the sponsorships, and we were so grateful, had so many great partners have come on with us, and that allowed us to up our technology game and allowed us to pay for gas back and forth. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, you're definitely not getting rich off the sponsorships. They're there for the community.
We are not at all.
Y'all providing a community service, essentially, and the sponsorships are really just to make sure that service looks quality.
Yes.
People can hear it well. People can see it well. And again, it's on YouTube. What's the YouTube channel? Is it Redskin?
Redskin Broadcasting Network's our YouTube channel. We are also very active on our Facebook page, promoting the games, promoting the athletes. We do a lot of on-the-field interviews, which has been really popular. And we try it's not just the starters. We try to talk to everybody. We've interviewed band members. We've interviewed cheerleaders. And so we try to spotlight all the kids as much as possible.
That's awesome. And it's really, I think, unique for Pocahontas to have community members willing to be this consistent, trying to up their game every time, and then not only just have a camera watching the game and talking about it, but taking the extra step, going to talk to these other students and coaches and really make it feel like this is a real ESPN broadcast.
Yeah. And of course, we get to look at our statistics on who's watching our broadcast, right? I don't know how big this is, but almost 5% of our viewers now are in the Marshall Islands.
Oh, wow.
Because we had done some spotlights on some of the Native Marshallese players, and our viewership in the Marshall Islands and in Japan and in Indonesia. So we have
an international Redskin Broadcasting Network.
That's exactly right. Redskin Broadcasting Network is worldwide. So we're pretty excited about that.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
It's well deserved that y'all are in the top 8 for that Sully Award.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, besides broadcasting games, you have another project you got involved in lately, Imagine Arkansas. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Yeah. So Imagine Arkansas is less than a year old nonprofit. The mission is to improve childhood literacy. The childhood literacy rates across the country are really poor, and they're really poor in Arkansas. And so the goal is to improve that by donating comic books to libraries and to schools and to doctors' waiting offices. A kid that may be too intimidated to pick up a book would be more likely to pick up a comic book. And so we hold online auctions of different comic book memorabilia to help raise money for our nonprofit. And then we then take that money and go buy age-appropriate comic books for donation to these different places. We had our first little small project last fall. We started our own little backpack program, and we were able to donate some backpacks with school supplies and with age-appropriate comic books to area schools around Northeast Arkansas, including Maynard. Okay, awesome. So we were really excited about that. Tomorrow I'm going to go to a comic book show in Batesville, and it's to raise awareness of Imagine Arkansas, and we'll sell a little bit of stuff to help add to our fund to keep this thing going. We've been able to get a couple of grants already, but we just applied for a grant from the North Delta Community Foundation, which represents Randolph County, Lawrence County, Greene County. And so we're just hoping that thing keeps on growing and getting bigger, because there is such a need to help improve the literacy rates.
Now, can people find that? Is there Imagine Arkansas Pocahontas or Randolph County?
No, there's an Imagine Arkansas Facebook page. There's an Imagine Arkansas Instagram page. If you go search for that, you'll find our Facebook posts. You'll find a QR code where if you'd like to donate, you can scan the QR code and it'll take you to our website where you can make donations. We take things like Funko Pop figurines and Lego sets and these kind of different things that are around the comic book world, and then we auction those off online to help fund our efforts.
To kind of wrap up, I want to combine two things that you're passionate about. You're passionate about business, you're passionate about sports. And before you left the chamber, you and Mark Holt, I believe Skylar Jackson was a part of this, I think Dane Dillon, I'm not sure who else, were involved in a project kind of largely titled Hall of Fame. There are two categories, Business Hall of Fame and Sports Hall of Fame. And I want to tell you that in person, thanks to the efforts of John Plumley, kind of helping push over the line, the current board approved the Business and Sports Hall of Fame to go forward.
Excellent.
And so this coming fall, in October, the Randolph County Chamber Banquet, we will actually present Hall of Fame awards for business and sports. And then those Hall of Fame awards are going to go into the Randolph County Heritage Museum. Before all that occurred, you, Mark, Skylar, Dane, y'all really had this desire to preserve, I think, some legacies and history of Randolph County, both in the business and the sports realms. Can you talk a little bit about that and why that was so important to y'all?
Yeah, so the Sports Hall of Fame, honestly, what put it in my head originally was because Walnut Ridge has one. Okay. And, traditionally, Walnut Ridge and Pocahontas were rivals. And my feeling was if Walnut Ridge has one, then by golly, we need to have one as well. But you look at the rich history of the athletes, not just from Pocahontas, but from across Randolph County. We've got some folks that have had Division I scholarships. We've had some folks that have went on to great careers after their sports days were over, after athletic days were over. And the main thing was we don't want the history to be forgotten, number one. But number two, we wanted current student athletes to know that they can go to school at Pocahontas or they can go to school at Maynard and they can move on to college to help athletics pay for their college education. And then they can go on to do great things in the business world. And so we want to be able to spotlight some folks that have went through athletics in Randolph County and gone on to do great things. And we just want them to show current student athletes a role model that they can aspire to. So that's kind of where it came from.
Well, awesome. Well, I will tell you that starting in July of this year through the end of August, kind of concluding September, I think 1st or 3rd, nominations will be accepted for sports and the Business Hall of Fame. And then chamber members and the board will then kind of vote on those nominees. I hope that you'll join us at the chamber banquet this year to help present that, because you definitely were someone who talked about it and then obviously inspired John Plumley, but also inspired me. Like, hey, we need to finish this up as part of our old business and kind of get it off the list because it's a great thing for our community to have. Like you said, besides just kind of beating Walnut Ridge with our better Sports Hall of Fame and Business Hall of Fame, it also just kind of showcases the rich history of this area.
Yeah, and one of the guys that really helped in the original genesis of the idea is a guy named Tim Allison. Tim Allison, his father was a pastor here at Pyburn Street Church of Christ for a number of years. Tim went to high school in Pocahontas. He went on to play at ASU. He's had a very successful business career in Jonesboro. He was a speaker,
I think, 2 years ago for the chamber.
Yes, he was our chamber speaker at one point. He served, I think, 6 or 7 years as the voice of the ASU Red Wolves on their broadcast. Tim and I got to know each other and started talking about the Hall of Fame thing. And so he was one of the guys that originally helped get this thing off the ground. We put some ground rules together about what the program could look like. The reason we wanted to involve the chamber is because we wanted this project to live on in perpetuity. Yeah. And we know that the chamber, the faces may change on the board, the executive director may change, but we wanted the chamber to help in this effort. It originally started off as a Pocahontas Sports Hall of Fame. But then we thought if we're involving the chamber, it needs to be the Randolph County Hall of Fame. So because we need to not only showcase Maynard, but we need to be able to showcase the schools that are no longer here, like Oak Ridge Central and Biggers Reno, great athletic successes for some of those folks. And so we want to be able to showcase that as well. And then the Business Hall of Fame, that's something that is also near and dear to my heart because, we've had just this long list of very successful folks that provided the foundations upon which we're still building today. And so we want to be able to recognize those folks because, honestly, some of the businesses have closed down. I mentioned KPOC earlier. They've closed their doors, but for years.
Well, in your field, Pokey Federal.
Yeah, Pokey Federal. That's exactly right. Just so many places like that are no longer around, and so we want to be able to highlight those folks and again keep those memories and history alive.
I'm looking forward to seeing these awards being given out this coming fall. Like I said, it was a good feeling of accomplishment by the current board that, we are continuing things that this board has been doing previously. Yeah. We're not just starting over again with a new quote unquote board demographic.
Yeah, that was one of my regrets when I left the board is that I didn't see that come to fruition. So I'm just so grateful that you guys, you and John, the other board members have kept the torch lit, right?
Of course.
So, glad of that.
Well, one question that I ask every guest, usually from off camera, but I'll get to on camera this time, is a kind of shout out question for you to tell us what's one local business or organization or even individual over the past, week or two or maybe month that has impressed you, that deserves an extra special attaboy, attagirl.
Man, that is a good question. We have a new Factory Connections business that's opened up recently. I think clothing options are kind of hard to find in Pocahontas, right? And so I was excited to see this new business come to town. I haven't met these folks yet, but I'm looking forward to doing so. Looking back over the past few months, I think Tate coming to town has been a fantastic thing, right? I mean, they had their grand opening and announced at the exact same time that they were expanding because it had taken off so quickly. And so, I think that's a great source of pride for Pocahontas and Randolph County. So grateful to Grayson Bigger and the Intermodal Foundation for helping Tate find us. When we're talking about the upward trajectories, I think places like Tate or even the small retail business like Factory Connections, I think those are just great things.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike, for coming on today. Yeah. I appreciate you being willing to come in and re-record. Maybe during football season, we can kind of nab you for a little bit. You can tell us how the Redskin Broadcasting Network is running around with their hair on fire.
We'll be glad to. And I will be remiss if I don't mention the other members of our crew. Mark Holt came on board with us this past year. Dane Dillon been with us a couple of years. My son, Jarrett Thompson, came on with us this year as well. So great to have those guys on the crew, and we appreciate everything they do to help
the quality of
the programs, to highlight our student athletes. We appreciate everybody that helps sponsor us as well.
Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you for listening. Remember to email us at commercecastpod@gmail.com if you have a question for Mike or you have an idea about your guest. Thank you. The CommerceCast is a production of Fox Science Studios. We are hosted by Mark Holt and Todd Baltz. Our executive producers are, also Todd Baltz and Mark Holt. Special thanks to the Randolph County Chamber of Commerce. Music provided by AGI. You can find links to everything we discussed today in the show notes. If you have a question or a topic idea, email us at commercecastpod@gmail.com. If you enjoyed the show, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps new listeners find us. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll see you next time right here in the studio. Thanks for listening.